All right, so I'm going to show you how to do the rear seat, which is illustrated just behind all those parts. All those pieces have been cut out. There's some on some thinnish card, there's some on some thicker card, and we'll just go through how you put it together in real time. So it's, a lot of the stuff I did in the interior is a lot of just boxes. This is at least something that's a little more interesting. So this is the spreader that goes between the two side pieces, and you can't see it because my camera work is so amazing, but there is a little line on the inside of that piece that allows you to line that piece up with some glue. And you can lay one side down as curved, but one side is flat. So I'm laying it down flat because then I can push down on that spreader, make sure it's a right angle, and it should be smack dab in the middle. So let that dry a little bit, and then we try to put the other one on, and the other side. And once those are on, then we're going to start putting in some other little pieces. But I thought I'd show you this because this one's a little more interesting than just folding boxes, which is what I've been spending a couple days doing. So I haven't forgotten the Sonia. It's just that what I've been doing has been very kind of simple, but just mundane. So there I'm just lining up the piece so that it is, the spreader is where it's supposed to be. And it takes a couple times to get this right. But once you get it started, you should be able to sort of let it go, turn it over like this, and then make it square. And again, I'm pushing down on the flat side to try and make sure it's going to be like there, push down. And then if it's all flat against the board, then it should be fine. As long as I got those pieces lined up, I should be all right. At some point on here, I mess up the whole thing. But I'm just, yeah, that was smart there. Oh, there we go. Genius. So try it again. But hey, second time's a charm. And again, line it up so that the flat side is against the board, and then just make sure it's even. And once you do that, that's the hard part. Everything else is it falls into place. Everything fits just so. I mean, it feels like a plastic model without the pins and the precise locating things, notches and stuff. But if you follow what's printed on the page, it's wonderful. And by the way, the edges have all been done up with marker and stuff. So I did a lot of prep before I got to this point. This is like painting. You do a lot of masking, takes 3 hours, and it takes just a few seconds to paint anything. But anyway, once I got that to where I think it's about right, which this looks pretty good, then I'm going to start putting the rest of it together. So, oh, here I notice there's a little piece that wasn't quite colored. So I'm using my little marker to color that up. That marker looks gray, but when you put it on the paper, it looks kind of a greenish color and it matches the interior pretty well. So um, there's the main spreader in place. And now to make it stronger, I'm going to put a little pillow piece, a brown piece that goes in the front. That's this piece. And this is thick. This actually has a thick piece, and it's going to go right there. It's backed with a thick piece of cardboard. And it has to be curved slightly because the dang thing has a curve on it. And so, just like anything else, even with the backing on there, if you give enough pressure, you see my finger looks like it's about to fall off. I get a very slight curve in that. Very little. Oh yeah, I'm just pointing out that the backing does have cardboard. So that's going to go right in the front. And again, because this is such a precisely done model, um, I don't have too much worry that this is going to fit perfectly. Now here I got smart and decided to use some clamping tweezers to hold the seat like that, the back of the seat, um, the substructure, so that I can then put this thing on with a little bit easier and hold it to where I need to go. But it's going to fit right in there like that. And I'm just kind of making sure that it's the right width, and it is, and that's great. And again, that means that number one, you cut precisely, but number two, and probably number one, it's very well designed. And as long as you cut carefully, this thing fits like a jigsaw puzzle. It fits very, very well. So then this piece, I've eyeballed what the curve is, and I nailed it. It isn't much of a curve, but it's just enough. And if I just carefully drop that right on there, and that is going to give us strength. That's going to hold everything together. The seat on this airplane, I had no idea. The rear seat, it's kind of cool. It's kind of, I don't know if it's articulated or not, but it's got that part there is like a pad that's down near the floor. And then it's got a regular pad where the guy's seat would sit, where his bottom would sit down. And apparently, if he's facing forward, he uses the top one. If he's on the gunner, turns it around and uses his gun, he sits on the top one, but he can also slide down onto the floor, and that pad is there to help support his back, and so he can shoot like almost vertical out the rear of the airplane. So it's kind of an ingenious design. So now, put a little bit of glue on this piece, which is another piece that's backed with some thin cardboard. And we're going to put the brownish colored fine upholstery on there, which is this piece. If I can pick it up, lick it, there we go. Saliva is wonderful to work with. And there's an edging. You just want to make sure that the edge actually shows. I don't know if you can see it that well in this, but there is an edge around the outside, and the piece fits absolutely precisely right inside it. I mean, you can't mess it up. If you do start to put something together and they don't look like they match, or they don't fit over the piece as it's drawn, there's a problem. So that's something to remember. Now that is just going to go, that's where the guy's little bottom is going to fit. So that is going to go right on top of that green spot that you see. And so, again, I'm pretty confident that this is going to work. So I put a fair amount of glue on there so that it adheres well. And then you take this piece and set it right in the center, and it slides right in place. Usually when you get models, especially plastic models, you try doing stuff like this and it never works. You got to trim things, you got to sand things. This thing fits like a madman right in there, just plopped right in. And it's flat and it's good. And now, once that dries, this thing's plenty strong. It is not going anywhere. The only two things left then, so you can see the top cushion and then that side cushion. The only thing left are a couple of braces. That brace there and that brace right there. Those two braces on your side. So those, there's no locating marks, which was kind of funny. I thought there would be. But I'm just looking at the plan and going, okay, it fits about like that. So what I decided to do was just take some glue, put it where I think it should go, and look at the various pictures that are there. There's a little space between that bar and the top seat on that corner. And so all I do is pop this thing in and drop it in there, and it will glue just fine. So I think it's a piece that gives it a more strength, kind of a girder in there on the real airplane. And again, it might be a place where the seat kind of moved. I'm not quite sure. In any event, it turns out there's a lot of good pictures of the interior of this airplane online. And I even have a 48 scale model of it by a manufacturer, I think called Nachimo. It's an old kit, but a really kind of detailed, nice kit on the interior. I might just pull that out and look at it and look for extra little detail we can add. Because as it is, I'll show you the cockpit that I've done so far after we put the seat in, this rear seat in. It looks really cool. It looks really nice. But there's stuff I think that's missing, and there's stuff that could be improved above and beyond things like seat belts. And we'll work on that probably next. But anyway, putting that last little girder spreader on there, and now as long as it looks even, it looks the same on the other side, the rear seat is done. And there's 4 little stubs on the base, little feet, and those I'm just going to dip the thing in glue off screen, and then we're going to put it down into the cockpit, into the rear cockpit, where there's a couple of locating marks, 4 little slot looking pieces that it just fits right on top of those. So it'll work great. So here's the interior as it is so far, and the little seat is going to fit right in that middle, right behind that big black thing, which is the camera. It's going to fit right in there. So all I need to do is, I'm just making sure it's the right width and everything, and it is. I barely had to check. It's always a good idea to check. Don't just throw stuff together. But this thing fits so well. All I'm doing now is putting some glue on the bottom little feet, and then I'm just going to put it in there, drop it down over the preordained spots that are on the paper, and that should locate it extremely well. And I just drop it there in front of the camera, and good shot of my knuckles. It's just good photography. And then you just kind of make sure it's relatively straight. If it's over those marks, it should be spot on, as long as everything else is good. But eyeball it again and make sure it lines up with like the camera and the bulkheads. You don't want it to be crooked. I don't think it's swiveled. I think he just turned around and sat in different places on it. But there you go. So that's in, and that's what I'm going to show you, because again, all the rest of these things have been pretty boring to put in. So these are all these boxes, all little boxes that go in here, junction boxes, various things, and they're just, that's the camera. That was a cool piece, just slightly curved, but it wasn't really majorly a problem. That's the radio, which is awesome, but it needs some three-dimensional dials on it. There's some more junction boxes. Not sure what some of this stuff is. I don't know what that cylinder is down there. But over here are going to go ammunition, drums for the ammo up here for the rear gunner. That's going to be all of those pieces is going to go in there. And this takes multiple pieces per drum ammo, and we'll stick them on there next. But this is a good place to stop to show you how things are progressing. But what I'm going to do is gussy this up a little bit. See, there should be stuff, there should be straps on some of these based on pictures I've seen. There should be wiring in between some of these boxes, because right now they just look like, to me, shoe boxes or something that I folded. They're out of cardboard. I want to put things, I'm trying to show you, trace out little places where I'm going to put some fuse wire to make things look like they're connected and they're actually doing something. So I'm going to need a little bit of, and I'm going to put seat belts, a big lap belt on the rear and a seat belt in the front. And then there's a dart here, a cut, because there's a bend where you're bending both ways. You're rolling it around a former, and you're actually making it, I believe, kind of start to go into a streamlined cone area almost towards the tail. So that is a piece that's going to have to be put together with some tabs. But this will roll around, attached to the formers, and there's going to be a really nice cockpit. And the windows are big enough, big greenhouse on there, that you'll be able to see all this stuff. I'm just pointing out, put in a seat belt there and a lap belt there, put in some of those other pieces I want to do for detail, and then she'll basically be done. Then we get to try to see how to put the skins on. Do I put the skins on first and then roll it, or roll this part first? I'm not certain. But it is definitely coming together. What a neat airplane.